You are Locked On Dodgers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
To another Locked On Dodgers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. I am Pete Fox, host of the Dodgers Postcast. We come in right after the game and we break it down for you. Tonight, or today rather, that's going to be a little tough. There wasn't a whole lot to get excited about in this one. But today's episode of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast is brought to you by the Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get some help from the team of licensed tax professionals at Tax Network USA. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit them online at TNUSA. Joining me today to help find some silver lining in this defeat is our friend Jeff Snyder, co-host of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast. Jeff, appreciate the time, or podcast. I'm post, your pod. Appreciate the time. How's it going? What's new?
Not much new. Just, watching the Dodgers like we always do. So, life is good, though. Happy to be here.
Good. Thanks for doing it. Appreciate it. Kind of felt to me in this one like the Dodgers just didn't have that desire to win. It just felt like they won the series. It's a very good team, the Milwaukee Brewers. They battled hard to win the first two games. And then today they were just like, you know what? We don't have a seasoned veteran on the mound. We have a rookie. So hopefully we don't get shellacked. Unfortunately, they did get shellacked. And it seems to be kind of a trend for them in these finales of series where they just don't put forth the effort. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the fact that it's July. They're 7.5 up in the West, and it's okay. It's fine, right? Should we be upset about this loss, or this is a turn the page sort of thing?
Well, it probably won't surprise you or our chat friends to discover that I disagree with you. I think they want to win every game, but I do think the odds were stacked against them today because their top three relievers all pitched each of the last two games, and they had a rookie, major league debut on the mound. So basically, it was going to come down to scoring a bunch of runs off Dallas Keuchel, which is absolutely a real possibility because Dallas Keuchel isn't very good anymore. Unfortunately, today he was hitting his spots on the edges of the zone, and in at least one case off the edge of the zone, but getting the call on what should have been a run scoring walk. That'll change the tone a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the fact is they came into this game knowing it's Justin Wrobleski and Ryan Yarbrough and Johan Ramirez and guys like that pitching today. And so we're going to need to score a bunch of runs. And when they had their opportunities with guys on base and just couldn't get that big hit. I think it's really easy to look in hindsight and say, oh, they must not have cared. But the fact is, no, they care. Dallas Keuchel made pitches when he needed to, and the Dodgers couldn't get the big hits when they need it. And it's why baseball is one of the hardest sports to win consistently.
Yeah. According to Eric Karros, this game is hard. He says that a lot. He points that out. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But 5 walks from Keuchel. They didn't take advantage really of anything today. The one scoring opportunity from Chris Taylor going deep. And I loved Mookie Betts in the booth pumping up Chris Taylor, saying stuff like, that's what Chris Taylor does. Really? Look, I'm on Chris Taylor's side. I'm in his camp. I try to be positive about him because he's a good guy and a good player, and having a very tough start to this season, which had started to turn around. It's come back to earth a little bit, but still of late, if you cancel out May, his or April, his season's not bad. He doesn't have a 154 average or whatever it is. 155. Sorry.
I think you have to cancel out the end of March and all of April and all of May and most of June to say anything about him having a good season. But yeah, he has definitely been good the last 3 weeks, we'll say.
Yeah, it's been at least acceptable. So again, it felt good that he got the home run today, and the only runs on the board came courtesy of Chris Taylor. But it really felt like when they're running Ryan Yarbrough out there and kind of like, all right, he just gave up a whole mess of runs and we're not going to pull him because, I mean, they talked about it in the broadcast. They're like, he's just out there to eat up innings, and they're not going to tax the bullpen today. It's a little frustrating from the standpoint that it didn't I know what you're saying. Yes, they want to win and they're out there trying to win. They're not giving up, but it just had a feeling. And this is another thing that we talk about here on the podcast. It feels like a lot of times this is the attitude for getaway Sundays, right? It's hard not to have that feeling in the back of your head when you're a player. Already won the series, got to hit the road. They are absolutely looking ahead to the Philadelphia Phillies. So early game, Sunday, Series 1, getaway day, and the Phillies on the horizon. All of those things put together, to me, doomed disaster for them from the beginning.
I'd be surprised if any player on the Dodgers thought about any player on the Phillies at all today. Honestly, I think they were focused on this game, but like I said, they came in with their game plan. The Dodgers' goal isn't to win every game of the regular season. The Dodgers' goal is to win it all. And sometimes that means sacrificing the long term, or the short term for the long term. And yeah, you could have gone out and said, oh, Wrobleski gave up that home. Let's get him out of the game. Let's battle through this. Let's throw Trinan and Hudson and Phillips for the third day in a row. And yeah, the Dodgers could have kept this game a lot closer than it ended up being. And maybe they come back and win. Maybe if it's still 4-2, the hitters have a different approach or whatever. Maybe they come back and win. But the easiest path to failure as a team is to try to win every single game and go balls to the wall every single game, because that's not the path to long-term success.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point, that they didn't want to, potentially injure anybody or over stress or tax anybody. So yeah, and that seemed apparent today. So I thought, what was your feeling on Wrobleski? I thought he had, 5 decent innings. He didn't look terrible. A couple of strikeouts, 4 strikeouts, gave up a couple of home runs. The slider didn't quite do much to Yelich, and Yelich had a good day anyway and had a home run yesterday. So he was pretty locked in during the series. And honestly, during the last month, I believe if he's got his numbers up, he's now leading the league in hitting. So Yelich has been a tough out for sure. And then the home run to Haas came on a 4-seamer. So, I didn't think that Wrobleski was too bad. He was okay based on his rookie experience and, facing a pretty tough team.
Yeah, as far as major league debuts go, you can't complain too much about it, especially a guy who, it's not like he was pitching today because he has paid his dues at every level and he's earned this spot, and and not to say he doesn't deserve to be there, but this isn't a top prospect who's been a top prospect for a year and has dominated AAA and now he's in the big leagues. No, this was a spot start. He's going to be back in AAA. He's probably not pitching in the big leagues again this year, but it was a case of, well, we're going to put him on the 40-man roster this offseason anyway. We need a spot starter on Sunday. Let's get him up here. And yeah, he pitched really well. And it wasn't just the 2 bad pitches, because, one of the 2-run homers was a 2-run homer because of a walk ahead of it. And the other one was because of a double ahead of it, so it's not just the home runs, it's the guys on base before it. But all in all, for a guy in his situation who was pitching an A-ball last year, making his big league debut a week before he turns 24. No complaints about Wrobleski's performance for sure.
And the other big news today, we kind of buried the lead. 6 Dodgers on the All-Star team: Ohtani, Freeman, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, Tyler Glasnow, and Teoscar Hernandez. Any surprises in there for you on that?
I mean, the only surprises are maybe a couple guys who aren't there who might still end up there. Pitchers always get replaced. There's guys who are hurt, guys who don't want to pitch, guys who are pitching next Sundays or the Sunday before the game, so they can't. But Gavin Stone and Alex Vesia both wouldn't surprise me to be added to the team. Yeah. I think Gavin Stone absolutely deserves it, even with his struggle in his last start. Alex Vesia, I'm a little bit more on the fence about, just because relief pitchers, I don't know, if you're talking the best pitchers in the league, no relief pitcher should be on the team probably. But if you're putting relievers on the team, Vesia has definitely made a good case. And so I wouldn't be surprised if one or both of those guys get added. But yeah, I mean, you've got 5 position players, including Mookie, who won't play. I was glad to see that his fellow players voted him in, even knowing that he wouldn't be able to play, because he absolutely deserves it. He's been, one of the best players in baseball this year. So happy to see him there. And yeah, no real surprises for anybody. I think the Dodgers got what they deserved there.
Yeah, you could say maybe Miggy Rojas would be kind of atop that list if somebody else backs off. He's having a fantastic season. I don't know if the numbers do it just. He's batting 291, his OPS over 700, a couple of hits today. Obviously, his defense is stellar. So I wouldn't be surprised either. Or do you think that is an unfair omission that Miggy Rojas is not an all-star?
No, I don't. And I'd be shocked if he gets added. He just doesn't have the playing time. He's been a part-time player for most of this season. That's his role. And even though he's been thrust into full-time duty with Mookie's injury, no, Rojas is a part-time player now. And so I don't really see much chance of him being there.
Very good points. You want to do another segment? I told you I keep you for one, but
I'll stick around. I got dinner in the oven, but it's got 45 more minutes to cook, so I'm good.
All right, cool. We'll hit the break. I promise, though, just one more. I won't.
Sounds good.
Half hour. All right, he's Jeff Snyder. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also find us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed, where you can find Jeff and Vince doing the Locked On Daily Dodgers podcast. So check them out. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Dodgers postcast is brought to you by Tax Network USA. We pride ourselves on getting you the latest news on your team, being the Dodgers this time of year, whether it's the offseason, the draft, the dog days of summer, spring training, or the playoffs. We're after it year-round here on Locked On. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you to get what they believe is owed to them. They will levy your bank accounts. They will even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years experience and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit a big parlay and need to know how to correctly file that extra money, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon and mention the code LOCKEDON postcast, Dodgers postcast at checkout, and you'll receive $250 in a discount off of their service. Again, mention Locked On Dodgers postcast at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount for their services. Today's show also brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more, you pick less, 2 to 6 players and their stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in. Demons and goblins are there available for you. The demons pay a little bit more, but they're harder to hit. So if you get 4 of them, you can win up to $1,000 with 100 times your money. So if you bet 100, you win 1,000. That's pretty big. If you have huevos that big to bet on 4 demons, it's hard to hit those. I'm a bigger fan of the goblins because they don't quite, they're not as difficult to hit, and they don't pay as much. But I still feel like I've got something when you're winning. Winning is always better than losing, according to Nuke Lelouch. They have promotions like on Tuesday, they lower the stat projections, and on Fridays, you can get your money back if you lose your entry fee. They also have quick deposits, easy withdrawals, my initial deposit, super painless and hassle-free. And Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So hit up prizepicks.com/lockedonmlb and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prizepicks.com. Pick more, picks less. It is that easy. All right, this is Locked On Dodgers postcast. I am Pete Fox. He's Jeff Snyder, host along with Vince of the Locked On Dodgers podcast. Jeff, I was rather frustrated a couple nights ago, and I went on a bit of a rant. Just, going after everybody in the lineup, especially Shohei Ohtani. And that was after his back-to-back 0 for 5s. And I was like, come on, this is ridiculous. And one of our viewers on YouTube said that I had lost my mind and that I am mean-spirited and childish. And then somebody else commented that, a good rant is necessary. And then the Dodgers proceeded to win the next 2 games against the Milwaukee Brewers, who are a good team. And I took partial credit for those nice wins, because somehow through osmosis, my frustration, my ranting and raving, seeped into their subconscious and they played better the next 2 nights. But then somebody else commented that I was so mad, probably because I lost my prize pick. And I was like, yeah, no, I was just mad. I didn't have any action on that game, but I was just frustrated with the whole operation. And I was happy to see them bounce back, play much better in the first 2 games of this series. I feel like the bullpen we've talked about this a lot on the postcast. The bullpen to me has been doing a fantastic job. They're not perfect. No bullpen is, but I think they're doing a very good job. Where do you come down on the status of the Dodgers starting rotation as it looks right now? Because a lot of people feel like it is thin and needs some help.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I come down, since we don't know when Yamamoto is going to be back and how good he's going to be when he gets back. We don't know if Bobby Miller is going to find it. We don't know if Clayton Kershaw is going to be any good when he gets back. There's a lot of question marks right now. And so when we're talking about, 23 days from the trade deadline right now, I think that starting pitching absolutely should be a focus of the Dodgers, getting at least one elite starter. We don't need a guy to eat innings like Lance Lynn last year. We need a guy. Yeah, and Lance Lynn did his job last year. He did exactly what they traded for him. It was just that they didn't anticipate, we might need this piece of crap to pitch in the postseason. And
he gives up a lot of home runs.
That's where the problem came in. Julio kind of messed things up there, and among other things. And so, yeah, starting pitching is absolutely an area of need. And it might they might get to the postseason and say, wow, we have more starting pitching than we know what to do with. Maybe Yamamoto comes back and is great. Maybe Bobby Miller figures out. Maybe Kershaw's really good. And maybe they have hard decisions to make about their postseason rotation. I'd much rather have that than last year's decision, which was, so I guess it's either Lance Lynn or Ryan Pepio in our elimination game, huh?
Where are we on Walker Buehler? I know he went on the IL because they just felt he was taxed. They didn't say there was any sort of new injury. They just felt it was a stress relieving situation after his return did not go all that well. They said it was going to be a week. It's been longer. What have you heard about him? I haven't heard a whole lot of anything about Walker Buehler.
I haven't heard anything either. And yeah, I've kind of, not in a rude way or anything, I've just kind of blocked Buehler out of my mind. I'm not expecting anything from him. It's his last year before free agency. I don't know that there was any actual identifiable physical issue. It was, wow, I suck. There must be something wrong with me. And so, which is a perfectly valid reason to go on the IL and try to figure things out. It could be that he is working hard and tinkering and figuring things out, and he'll be back and he'll be great, maybe. But I don't think that is, I don't think it's likely. And I think that, we might have seen Walker Buehler's last pitch with the Dodgers because he is a free agent after this year. And I expect some team is going to take a risk on him, on him refinding his form next year. And if the money is significant at all, it's not going to be the Dodgers. And so, yeah, maybe he'll be back this year, but I haven't heard anything and I'm not counting on it.
And Dustin May, obviously dealing with Tommy John and the UCL, and you just never know how that's going to turn out. But his timeline, he's been throwing since spring training. Another guy we haven't heard a whole lot about. He's just guy that's everyone knows about. He's just hanging out there. Like, is he going to have any sort of impact on this team? Kind of feels like not. And the same holds true for Emmett Sheehan. Like, where's he? And again, Emmett Sheehan's a young guy, so we don't know what he has. But Dustin May, we pretty much know he's a quantifiable commodity for this team. And I think he would be very helpful if he could get back in there.
Well, we know for sure Sheehan won't be back. He had Tommy John surgery this season. So
okay.
Sheehan's out till mid-season next year. Dustin May could be back. I saw a video of him throwing a bullpen session at Camelback Ranch a few days ago. But he's another guy I'm not counting on. I think that, Brusdar Graterol is the only guy who hasn't pitched for the Dodgers this year at all, who I think really has a chance of making an impact this year. And even him, I'll believe it when I see it at this point. But really, I think it's more the guys they have, and then the guys like Joe Kelly, Ryan Brazier, those guys coming back, getting past their injuries. That's more likely to be an impact on this bullpen. But, crazier things have happened than Dustin May coming back and firing 100 miles an hour out of the bullpen in September and October for the Dodgers.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not thinking that Tony Gonsolin is any sort of savior, but he's an innings eater for sure. He's dealing with the Tommy John as well. They said the surgery was September 1st of 2022 or 2023.
No, 23. So Gonsolin isn't coming back this year. Okay, and Dustin May's only a month or so ahead of him on surgery wise, I think maybe a couple months. I know he got injured in May, but I don't think he had the Tommy John surgery immediately. I can't remember the exact date, but he's a little bit ahead of Gonsolin on the timeline. So that's why they're thinking there's a chance he might come back this season. But I'll believe that when I see it too.
Yes. I'm answering Jose's question here. He did. Who did you refer to as a piece of crap?
I assume it was Lance Lynn. He's the only piece of crap we've talked about in this episode.
And to answer Mr. Seabad's question, yes, indeed. Chris Taylor, the Diamond Dog of the day. He's the only guy that deserved to be on the Diamond Dogs list today. There was
let me throw one out for you though.
Else.
Your college buddy's nephew. 3 hits in the last 2 days. James Outman since he came back.
Yes, indeed.
James Outman hit well in AAA, and he's looked like a lot more like 2023 version of James Outman these last 2 days. So he won't get the Dodger Dog of the game or whatever because he had one pinch hit appearance and got a single. But I'm feeling good about James Outman.
Yeah, he definitely looked good. I looked up the numbers, 270s in his 160 at bats at AAA Oklahoma City, 9 home runs, 40 plus RBI. So hopefully he found something. I texted his uncle right after, and I was like, how is he feeling? Like, what's the mindset? And he was kind of like, he's fine. He gets it. Realizes that he might even be traded because of this. So, he's a professional and seems to be very unemotional about all of this stuff, which is, I guess, a good way to look at it and deal with it. And another thing I thought of that you would enjoy, another very close brush with fame for me, sort of close. I coached high school baseball for a few years, about 3 or 4 years in Corona, California. Not at Corona High School where Joe Kelly
high school
went. Santiago High School.
Oh, where Bryce Terang went.
Exactly. Bryce Terang, one of the, if not the only kid to come out of Santiago High School and make it to the major leagues in Corona, California. So
that's where I was born,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did not know that. I knew that you spent time out here, and you've kind of been all around SoCal. I didn't know you were born in Corona.
I lived my whole life in Lake Elsinore, but we didn't have a hospital, so I was born in Corona.
Yeah, the Circle City.
Did you know Monica Brink at Santiago High School?
I did not know that name. No,
she teaches English, I think, or something. Anyway, that's my connection.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So
Bryce Terang's high school hitting coach was Jim Campanis Jr., the grandson of Al Campanis.
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't really involved with the program after 2011, 2012. They had a lot of guys get drafted and a lot of talent that, gets paid to play baseball. But at the best of my knowledge, he's the only one that's actually made it to the major league. So that's pretty cool. Dodgers fall today. Not pretty. 9-2. Day off tomorrow. Then on to Philadelphia. Before we let you go, Jeff, what are your thoughts on this series? I have contended that for whatever weird reason, the Dodgers don't seem to get up for anybody in the West except Colorado. And I think that's just by default because Colorado's not good. But they struggle with the Padres. They're struggling with the Diamondbacks. But they seem to figure out a way and a motivation to get up for better teams like they did for Milwaukee. Like I feel like they will do in Philadelphia against the Phillies, who are still playing well in spite of being really, really banged up. What are your thoughts on this series?
It'll be interesting to see. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber both might be off the injured list for this series. That would obviously have an impact. I think that I don't really buy into the getting up for the series other than maybe the other direction. I think maybe these bad teams that think they have a rivalry with the Dodgers get up for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers play an even keel because they recognize the goal of 162 and beyond. So I don't expect the Phillies the Phillies are a team that's in the same boat as the Dodgers. Their goal is to win the World Series. And I think that they are going to be, I think it's going to be a fun matchup. I think the teams are pretty equal quality, not the same type of teams necessarily, but quality wise, they are very similar. And so it could be a really good series. I don't expect either team to dominate the series, even though obviously one team is going to win the series because it's impossible to split a 3-game series. But I expect to see the series to be pretty evenly matched.
I just look at them and I go, oh, I wish we still had Trey Turner. That just, I know it was a free agency thing and he got a boatload of money and the Dodgers didn't want to pay that kind of money for Trey Turner.
Trey Turner was never going to sign with the Dodgers. Trey Turner was always going to the Phillies from the time he knew he was going to hit free agency, regardless of what he said. Of course, he wasn't going to rule out the Dodgers because as a free agent, you have to let the Dodgers be involved in the bidding to drive up the price. Trey Turner was always signing with the Phillies, just like Corey Seager was always signing with the Rangers.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of free agent. Guys are allowed to go where they want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's the Rangers guy you just mentioned? Corey Seager. Yeah. He was going there because the Dodger third base coach became the manager, right? And he's good buddies with that guy.
Well, so there was part of that. I don't even think it was that. I think Corey Seager is more of a Texas guy than an LA guy. I think it fits his lifestyle, his personality, all those things. I think he was perfectly happy in LA, but he's more of a Texas guy and more comfortable there.
Yeah, not the manager. He became the coach because obviously Bruce Bochy is the manager of the Texas Rangers.
Tim makes a good point. Just like Shohei was always going to the Dodgers. You know what? Everybody made their pitches. Shohei Ohtani was always going to sign with the Dodgers.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, the what could have been kind of thing, it hangs out there. It would have been nice, but you're probably right. Yeah. It didn't seem like there was a long-term situation for the Dodgers and the Trey Turner. So here we are. Mookie Betts is doing okay. Hopefully he can get back sooner before later, and Max Muncy as well. Jeff, I'll let you go. Appreciate the time as always. It's fun to catch up.
Chance Cisco went to Santiago High School too. Played 5 years in the big leagues. Chance Cisco. He's the only other big leaguer from Santiago besides Bryce Terang.
Don't know that name either. I was hoping one of the guys. I only coached the freshmen, so hopefully I was like, well, maybe one of these guys.
He was drafted in 2013 out of Santiago High School.
Chance Cisco. That name does ring a bell.
He credits you for all the success. I'm surprised you don't remember him.
Yeah, exactly. All right, buddy. Good to catch up. Best of luck with the Phillies series. I'm hoping for the best, and it's a whole lot easier to do this thing when they win, I think. Yeah. But sometimes the losses, inspire us like it hopefully inspires them as well.
Well, Vince and I will be live tonight, and we'll be talking about the whole series, which the Dodgers did win. So maybe we'll be in a better mood.
I'm in a good mood.
Yeah,
I'm upset about that stuff we talked about before the show, that it's off the field stuff.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes life problems that I'm dealing with that have nothing to do with this. This is actually a lighthearted displacement of my frustration.
That's what baseball's for, man.
Exactly. All right, buddy. Have a good one. Take care. Say hi to Vince. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See it.
All right. That's Jeff Snyder along with Vince, hosts of the Locked On Dodgers podcast. They do that Monday through Friday on the, I believe it's the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. I am on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel here. Thank you for checking me out and listening on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. We have to hit our last break real quick and then come back and wrap this thing up. All right, today's show, the Locked On Dodgers postcast, also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. I know you love sports like I do. I love them so much that I never want them to stop. On days off, I'm looking for other things to pay attention to. Fortunately, we've got the Euros on the pitch. We've also got the Copa America. The playoffs obviously have come to an end in the NBA and the NHL. We've got Wimbledon going on right now. Plenty of things to wager on there. And sports aren't sporting if sports aren't sportsing. That's what the script says. If sports aren't sportsing like you want them to, check out FanDuel because they'll keep you going whenever you want. All you have to do is open an app and dream up a bet and get in on the action. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all the customers with boosts and bonus on a daily basis. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer and keep sportsing every day. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back. Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. I've read through that FanDuel script, I don't even know, probably a dozen times. And this is the first time I've always kind of just glossed over those first few words of that second line. And the sports aren't sportsing. I've been confused and just ignored it until right now, where I figured out that they are being funny and making up a word. Dodgers fall today, 9-2 the final. We talk a lot here about Sundays and getaway days and the end of a series, and it just feels like the interest level or the energy level is lacking. Jeff disagrees, thinks that the energy is there every day. They want to win every game, but there are times when it's just not possible. And that makes sense. It's a very, very astute analogy of the baseball season. It is 162 games. You can't win them all. No one's ever won them all. No one ever will win them all. You have to pick your spots. You got to win when it's important, when it's high leverage, when it's crucial. And today kind of wasn't, right? They had a bad series coming into this against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They kind of cleared their head with a 3-game series win against the Milwaukee Brewers, a very good team, taking the first 2 in, classic heroic fashion. Will Smith hitting home runs, Shohei Ohtani hitting home runs, pitching well. They did a lot of good things over the first 2 games. Today, not so much. So there's not a whole lot to get into and say this was awful and they need to improve on this. This is just a turn the page day. You won the series. That's a good thing. They have a day off tomorrow. Nobody got injured in this series. Had a rookie go out and make a start that ended up not being great. But as far as getting major league experience, Wrobleski did a fine job. He gave up 4 runs on 5 hits and struck out 4. Only walked 2, and then when it's all said and done, he got the loss, but hopefully he gained a lot of experience with today. I thought Ramirez pitched well. Yarbrough, a little bit shaky, but Yarbrough is, I think, a 1-inning guy, and he's got to come in after a flamer, a fireballer, and he did that after Ramirez, and his first inning was really good. And then you get used to 87 miles an hour. That's not tough for these guys, unless you're Jock Peterson. Now, Jock Peterson hates hitting against Yarbrough. That was comical, by the way. We didn't talk a lot about that, but that was so funny. I've always liked Jock Peterson. I think he's got a great attitude. He gets fired up real easy. He's a baseball player, and I know that's a cliche, but it is true when it comes to him. But he looked so baffled against Yarbrough. It was hilarious to watch. He didn't know what to do. He tried to bunt at one point. So Yarbrough baffles a lot of people, Jock Peterson among them. He did not baffle the Brewers today. They got after him for 3 runs on 4 hits, but he did manage 3 Ks. Bonda came in, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits. But at that point in time, the game was over. The Dodgers were just trying to get out of there, get to the clubhouse, get to the plane, and get to Philadelphia for their off day where they can get some cheesesteaks, because you got to do that when you're in Philly. So enjoy the off day tomorrow. We'll be back at it on Tuesday. Big series against the Philadelphia Phillies. I think this is kind of a statement. I feel like they have to go out and perform. It's obviously not do or die or make or break or any of that stuff, but it is a measuring stick when you're facing the top team in the National League, when you are the second team in the National League. Believe me, the pundits will be looking at this series for sure, so we should as well. I'm Pete Fox. Thank you guys all for joining me here on the Locked On Dodgers Postcast. Thanks to Jeff for checking in and hanging out for a couple of segments. We'll be back again on Tuesday. Dodgers and Phillies from Citizens Bank in Philadelphia. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk on Tuesday night. Take care.